3, 2, 1. He scored for Sweden against Tunisia tonight. Then he put his hands up. He apologized. His father is Tunisian. His mother is Moroccan. Tunisia wanted him. His own Tunisian father told him to play for Sweden. He scored first. He didn't celebrate. And then he scored again. But this time, he celebrated with everything he had. That's the World Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of FUT IN Review World Cup Daily. I'm Shaq and I'm joined here today by John. Hey John, how's it going?
Hello mate. Super jet lagged, but I mean.
Great to have you here. Great to have you here after the weekend. Some great games on show today. We'll go through all the games. We'll just give you a quick rundown. We'll talk about the Germany. We'll talk about Diallo coming back and breaking the hearts of so many Ecuadorians. Germany being ruthless and a bit of a bully, but also the magic Curaçao moment. I'll talk about the game that Sweden gave us, probably the most attacking display that we've seen in the tournament so far. Got a whole heap of games that happened today, and also we can talk about the Japan versus Netherlands game. So quick note before we get going, Patreon supporters, we've made this show come straight out after recording, so please catch up, and keen to hear your thoughts. Right, let's get going. John, game one. Germany versus Curaçao. First time ever, Curaçao with a population of, I think, 150,000 people is the population, and they're playing in the World Cup. How did the game go? Break it down for us.
So Germany went all out at the start. Before the match even starts, right? I just want to highlight something because this was, of course, the first World Cup appearance from Curaçao. And as a Dutchman, I mean, they are all born except one in the Netherlands. So it's pretty much it feels like a second home country you support, right? But the coach is Dick Advocaat, or Richard Advocaat, as they like to say in the US, and it was quite beautiful because they zoomed into him sitting in the dugout, and he was crying. He was wiping away his tears because it has been. So we talked about this journey like last week on one of the podcasts as well, right? His daughter got ill. They qualified for the World Championship. His daughter got ill. He quit the job. Then everyone, including all the sponsors and the team and the players, asked for him to come back after his daughter was getting better. He came back, so he was still in the World Champion. He's still in the World Cup, while everyone, including himself, didn't expect him to be. 78 years old. So it was quite fun that he was next to Nagelsmann, who's 38 years old and the youngest coach of this World Cup, and he is 78 and he's the oldest one, and he just let it go. He's just crying on the dugout, and I think that's football, right? It showed football how it is. Curaçao scored one goal. I mean, Germany, tremendous goal straight from the bat. They kept pushing. They actually equalized, which was insane. So I think that deserves a shout out. And the whole island, 158,000 people, and I'll bet you a couple of million of Dutch people were celebrating that goal. Of course, they didn't stand a chance. And in the end, after the third goal was conceded, they sort of cracked. And Germany didn't hold back on that one. But still, another 7-1 victory for Germany. I think, of course, the loss was deserved. I don't think they needed to score 7, if I'm quite honest, on how the goals conceded. But, it's quite all right. I think this shows why football can be important or is important for so many people around the world, and sometimes results don't even matter.
Completely agree. And I think one of the things that's come out after the game was the after effect of the fact that this World Cup there's two sides of the story. One side is you have this magical moment where the guy scores a goal for Curaçao, puts this country, Comenancia, there we go, Comenancia, scores a goal, puts his country on the map.
I should say it properly, sorry.
Comenancia. Scores a goal, puts his country on the map. He will never forget that moment. His countrymen will never forget that moment. It's a beautiful moment. That's what the World Cup's all about. But then again, we also have a game that ended at 7-1. But we also had a semi-final of a World Cup ending in 7-1 in Brazil versus Brazil and Germany. So let's not get carried away. Let's look for the beautiful moments rather than looking at trying to bash this tournament, because having watched predominantly most games this tournament, I'm still yet to find a bad game. objectively, it's been going okay. I think I thought it was going to be a much more defensive tournament, but it's pretty good fun so far. Every game, in my opinion, is fun to watch as a neutral. So yeah, I'm having a great time. And also, shout out to Dick Advocaat. He was coach for the Australian Socceroos team in 2006. Did exceptionally well with us. So yeah, love the man. Hope he does well for Curaçao. And yeah, thank you for the backstory on Dick Advocaat. Well, moving on, John. Any thoughts before we move on? Rather, any thoughts on Germany progressing? Do you think this is an impressive German team?
I think so. I think they got. I looked at how much are these players worth on transfer value, and they're near worth $1 billion US, like euros, even not even dollars, euros. Of course, they got weirds. They got like it's a pretty Musiala. It's a pretty nuts team, anyways. Rudiger is on the bench. I mean, that sort of says it, right? Young team. I think these guys have it all. The only weak spot would be the right wing back position. And of course now the name goes blank on me, but they put someone right wing. This is horrible for me, but I'll know in a second because I feel really bad for it. But I mean, they've got Havertz in the team. I think it's a really cool team. They get Kimmich on right wing back.
Oh yeah,
and that is, I said it's a weak spot. It's a weak spot because Kimmich actually plays much better as a 6. The fact that he has to play right back means that's the weak spot of the Germany team. But having Kimmich as your right back is definitely not a weak spot. But that shows how strong that team is. And of course, this is a bit poor for Curaçao playing the first match against an unleashed German team. But they did get to rattle Germany for like 10 minutes after the equalizer. And showing the passion. I think if you just look at something of this match, look what happened after Curaçao scored that goal. The way they tossed each other in front of every shot, the way every defensive action got celebrated, the way the crowd went nuts whenever Curaçao got the ball from Germany, the way they tackled with not like aggressively, but it's like how passionately they tackled. And until the second goal, of course, that was those were 10 minutes of pure football happiness / bliss. And I think that's what these 10 minutes, if you want to show anyone what's football about, you show those 10 minutes of the match to a let's say a non-football fan or a soccer fan, whatever. Just say, this is football. Show them those 10 minutes and they're sold.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, moving swiftly along, let's talk about the chances of your very own motherland. What about the next game to review is Netherlands versus Japan. Let me just say, from my point of view, the first half was a dire display in the sense that nothing much was happening. Japan was just sitting backwards and holding them off really well. Netherlands was just Netherlands looked to me like the Liverpool team of this year, or maybe even the Arsenal team from time to time this year, where it's just a lot of sideways passing, a lot of backwards passing, a lot of just possession for the sake of possession without really actually penetrating through and expecting Gakpo to do magical stuff each time. And Summerville wasn't doing much as well. But the second half, I think the game completely changed on a dime, and we had a really enthralling game in the second half. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so it worked. It played out exactly as many, including myself, I think, predicted. So Japanese team is a very good team on the counterattacks. They play a 5-3-2 or 3-5-2. It kind of depends how you show it. In defense, they're 5 at the back. In offense, they just go all out and basically play with 2s into defenders and everyone else is forwards. So that means if you're the Netherlands, you can't really push too hard because you'll get done on the counter, which they've shown against Spain, Brazil, England over the last couple of years, right? So you can't really go all out of them. So that leads to being careful in possession. Try not to lose the ball in center because then you'll be outdone on those counterattacks. And that's exactly what showed. Japan did not even want the ball. They just leaned back. The Dutch had the ball, were really good on possession as well, created some chances. So I think we had 2 chances in this first half that actually could have gone in. Great saves from that goalkeeper, Suzuki. First one like 5 minutes in with Malen. And later on another great save on a header. So also from Malen, I think. Yeah, also from Malen. So Suzuki saved the day there. Because if they were like 2-0 behind after just leaning back, this match would have been done already. And I think from a neutral perspective, I get why people say it was kind of boring, but actually it was a tactical. If you look at this match from a coaching perspective, or you show this to analysis and say, look what's going on here tactically, this would be one top match. This is one top match played. These were two teams playing on the maximum of their tactical capabilities at the start. And the only thing that I think the Dutch did poorly at the first half is you have to go left to right against 5 back, right? That's what they kept doing. But they kept doing it too slow. So what happens is they gave the ball to De Jong. De Jong took a touch, looked the other way, and passed back sideways. If you do that touch first touch already, if you do the pass first touch, then the speed goes up. And if you then go from left to right, there will be an opening for Gakpo to just step in, to be not with 2 men double covered. So second half, they started really well because they put out Gravenberch to the right side to open up on that side. And there were 2 chances in like 5 minutes from the same perspective, way faster, 2 chances opening. Then they get scoring. And you think the first goal was great opening, just silly defense on the first Japanese goal. I mean, well played, because if you score against Japan, they have to come out. Suddenly you get space, and that actually leads to having more chances yourself. The problem was that if you look at the first goal, it was just poorly defended. Gravenberch was standing and like, okay, you can take a shot. And it went in. And the second, then the Dutch come back again. The game resumes at the same play. Japan drop back, all 5 at the back, wait for the ball, wait for the counters. The Dutch actually score again from another cross into, like I said, crosses can be dangerous this match. Well, that showed. They scored from that, and then they go from there. I think the Dutch 2-1-0, nothing to lose. And then the hydration break, or advertisement break, as I like to call it now, happened. And basically that cost them the match, because those substitutions were weird.
Yeah, I think we'll break down a little bit more information on the Dutch team as we get along, because they're forming another segment of the show, which we'll get into. But from a Japanese angle, I think they just had that I'm never going to die attitude. It was just, they just kept coming back. Every time Netherlands scored a goal, you knew a goal was coming from Japan. And when they were crossing the ball into the box and Van Dijk kept heading them out, I was wondering what the hell are you guys doing? And then Kamada scores a header in for a goal. Brilliant goal. It's just, we'll break down the Dutch fallacy and the mistakes in another segment just coming down shortly. Quickly moving on, John. The other game that happened today was Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. I think this is a much hyped game, probably one of the most hyped game, because Ecuador has had an enthralling run of 19 games with no defeats, and Ivory Coast was here for the party. I think they've got some really young talent as well. I personally was shocked at the starting lineup that Ahmad wasn't starting, but apparently he hasn't started in the friendlies before the World Cup as well. And a lot of the fans apparently were quite confused in the stadium. But then, what a game. I don't know if you've watched much of the game, but this game was end to end. They had two sets of players running end to end to end to end without even getting tired. And it was exceptional to watch. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so this match I did not see live, just a summary. And that's also to do because for us, Saturday evening started off with 4 matches throughout the night.
Yeah.
Like Australia, Scotland. So I finished my last match at 7:50 in the morning on Sunday morning. I had a kids Champions League tournament at 10. So I got like 45 minutes of sleep that night and went into the other football match, came back. Of course, we do Formula 1 analysis as well. So I went into the Formula 1 match, into Curaçao match, into Netherlands match. And then, honestly, after 48 hours of no sleep, I did fall asleep last night. So I think I got to be more careful how I plan this week. But so I think Ecuador just hardly concedes goal. I think that's what's the last 20 matches or 18 matches from them. Just they hardly concede. And if you don't concede, well, I said it before, it's easy to get a point in somewhere. So getting a 1-0 victory on them, I think, is a really good performance. And I think there will be teams that will have a lot of difficulties beating that team down, though.
Absolutely. I think you're quite right about not conceding because the number of chances Ivory Coast actually carved out. They literally, in the start, Yan Diomande, the guy that we've actually shouted out as a player to watch for this tournament, he was exceptional, electric on the right wing, and he just couldn't be stopped. And he just kept cutting the ball all the way, just diagonally passing it through to the box. And the number of people that missed easy shots, it just by the time they could get the shot ready, Ecuador would have four people that just come and block him, slide tackles. It just happened. The whole thing happened. It was a wonderful game for a neutral to watch. I was a neutral there. I had no skin in the game apart from having my little Amadinho try and score a goal, which was brilliant. He did nothing the whole game, hardly saw him on the pitch. But when it mattered, when that ball came towards the end to his feet, I just knew it was goal. And even if you look at the highlights, that goal, I don't necessarily know how it looked easy, but it wasn't easy. The way he had to find the actual angle for the ball to go to the back of the net, good for them. Good for them. Well-deserved victory, in my opinion.
I agree. I think from what I've seen, I think I agree. And it's good for the tournament, I think, as well. So
it just opens up that particular group a lot more. And then it's going to be interesting to see what else happens. And the trouble for Ecuador right now is the fact that this is supposed to be the must-win game for them. And then they've lost to Ivory Coast. The next game is against Germany. If they get beaten by Germany, then it really depends on what they do in the final game against Curaçao. They really have to rack up a big scoreline against Curaçao. And Curaçao might want to make a statement for their last particular game in the World Cup, and they might want to shut shop and try and hold off Ecuador, which might jeopardize Ecuador's chances of going ahead. So it's a bit of a shame because they were tipped to be a dark horse for this tournament, but hey, it is what it is.
C'est la vie.
Exactly. And lastly, the final game was a goal fest, an absolute goal fest. Sweden 5, Tunisia 1. This game had everything. It literally had everything. There were goals from the first minute onwards. And I think if someone looks at the scoreline and says, Tunisia played really bad, Tunisia really tried. They actually did try. But I think the Swedish team just had that extra firepower. If you look at the starting lineup, if you look at the strikers, that Isak and Gyökeres up front. And those guys just run riot in the beginning. From, I think, just conceding a goal in the seventh minute onwards, I think they did pull one back. It was 2-1 for a short while. And then Sweden just showed their quality.
Out of nowhere, that goal, though.
Yeah, it did. It did come out of nowhere a little bit. But it was almost like a chance for Tunisia to consolidate and try and do something back. But then the second half started, and they scored pretty quickly after the second half. And yeah, it was just a dominant performance by Graham Potter's Sweden. I would like to add as well, Graham Potter's Sweden, I was wondering how this game would be, but it actually turned out to be pretty good. I don't know if you saw the highlights of what your thoughts are on the game.
Yeah, so I watched an extended summary this morning. I think Sweden played well, but I don't think Tunisia played that bad either. And 3-1 would have been, I think, a little bit more fairer score in the end. Of course, after you score the third one, you know it can go like downhill too much, and then keeping the pressure on is good. I was surprised by two-striker system, but then again, Isak and I always forget his name.
Gyökeres.
He is, if you have two strikers like that, you might as well try. So
exactly,
there's that. I think I didn't rate Sweden too high. They had a dramatically poor qualifying, like just only skin on their teeth. They got in. Honestly, I didn't think after the Japanese drew versus Netherlands, I was like, okay, it's all right. We'll win versus Sweden. We'll win versus Tunisia anyway. So, a draw versus Japan, I think it's pretty cool. I think there's a little bit more pressure on that game now after Sweden's result, basically because of the scoreline. But this sounds a bit rough, but there's not many African teams that actually played well so far, right?
Well, Morocco played really well. I think Morocco really
okay, but that is
well.
like the best team there as well. So.
True. Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, they've had a really, like I said, Diomande and the attacking talent that they have was phenomenal. And I think they could be a really dark horse as well. And I'm really curious to see how they actually square up against Germany. So, because they have all the firepower.
Yeah, well, it could be an interesting match to watch. I think I rate Germany way higher than that. And I don't think Tunisia is like the opponent to. It's a good opponent to face first, right? And once you get a goal in, they're going to be hard to fire back. I don't think it's a bad team at all. I think there's way worse teams in this World Cup, but I think it's the scoreline might be a little bit overrated.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I don't think a 5-1 does justice to the game.
It's not
but
like Sweden is suddenly going to be like favorites to come out of this group anyways.
Nah, no, not really. Right, let's go on to a unique segment that we have, which is either ballers, bottlers, and the drama. So, John, let's start with you. What's the baller for you for today's game day?
Well, there's some options here, eh? To be fair.
Comenancia.
For Curaçao, of course. I think Advocaat for crying, just because I brought emotions, and I think emotions are always good to have. I forgot the name of the striker that scored the first goal versus Curaçao. So I'm trying to find who scored the first goal, because that was it was Nemeka, Nemecha, maybe I should.
Oh yeah, Nemecha, yeah.
Felix Nemecha.
Yeah.
He really stood out. I think that was that first goal that showed some supreme class, but all his touches, always left foot and right foot outside touches. So when he dribbles, this sounds a little bit nerdy, and I get it, right? But when you dribble, when you teach dribbling to kids, which I sometimes do, I always say, like, if you have put in some place on the ground, you go on the left side, and your defender is on the right side. You got to make sure you touch the ball with your left foot, and make sure your right foot is between you and the defender. You see many people dribble with the same foot always. So they go with your left footed, you go left, you go left, you go left, you go left. He actually does, when he goes left, he touches with his left foot. When he goes right, he touches with his right foot. So his dribbling on the short distance, it's really cool to see. And I don't pay much attention to that striker. So it was the first time when he scored, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then I saw some of these touches, like, well, actually, this is far more interesting player than I honestly realized. So I think that was a cool player. But I think it should go to the player that scored for Curaçao, right? Because Comenancia, I think you put your whole country, and even if it's a small country, you put them on their seats. Like, this is what dreams are made of.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Right, listener, we'll move on to the bottler. And let me just set up the bottler. The bottler is someone that's managing the team that's called the team that plays total football, which they haven't played total football for the past 4 or 5 World Cups, I think. The total football and Dutch is one of those things where I think we automatically associate the Dutch with that, but I think you guys have gone so far away from your roots. You can break that down for me, John. But also the fact that there's a lot of people. I think the Dutch footballing heritage is spread so wide and deep that even people like me just straight away have that affinity to the Dutch team. And then when you look at them play on the pitch and you realize, I think it was interesting because when we spoke about Nigel de Jong and the thing that he did in 2010, they haven't really progressed. I'm trying to find, where is total football? Is a bottle of today? Is Koeman the bottle of today, John?
Well, I think he is, but I want to put a little bit perspective on the total football thing, because I think total football is just not possible anymore in current day football, where everyone's just trained like pure athletes, and where most teams just play 5 at the back. There's just no, like, you need a winger, and you saw even in Japan, Gakpo got covered by 2 defenders always. And total football is all about moving every position around. So Gakpo would go inside, someone would take over, all good and well. But if you just play zone defense like they do, and you're based on getting counters in, then there's no way of playing total football because you'll get countered, period. So I don't think total football, how much I like saying the word and being applauded for being Dutch, it just doesn't make sense anymore, because there's like one team in the world that plays it, and even they can't play it properly every week anymore. Like we've seen City this year's trying it, but they get punished by an Arsenal as well. We've seen Barcelona trying it, but they get punished by defensive teams as well. So yes, it works. Yes, it's nice when you have 2 teams that attack. I think you'll see the Dutch play 4-3-3 and playing that type of football against Sweden this weekend. I'm not too fussed about that, but you just can't play it always anymore. So there's a little bit of nuance there. Also, the Netherlands have not lost a match in the World Cup in normal time, so not lost on penalties for the last 20 years. So there's a little bit of nuance there as well, I think, in not performing at World Cups. And this, again, wasn't the lost. But yeah, Koeman, I think he's the bottler because we have 3 fast strikers. He left our 2 fastest strikers out, or at least Frimpong. He wasn't injured. He left him out of the team. What happened here is it's 17 minutes, you get the water break in. I get what he said. Afterwards, he said, like, we need to have a striker that has that you can give the ball, a target man holds the ball up forward and go from there. All good and well, but that means you were leading 2-1. You're playing against a team that only attacks when they're behind. They are now behind and they will attack. And what you then need is there will be a lot of space which you can counter in yourself. And what he does, he brings in Depay for Malen. So that means Depay isn't, like, he's not even fit. But besides that, he's also not fast anymore, right? You take out Summerville, who had a tremendous goal and is extremely fast. Mm-hmm. You take him out as well for Koopmeiners, who is a tremendous player, has good vision, can hold the ball, great passing. Again, I'm faster, so there's not much. And you take off Gakpo for an extra defender, Ake, which makes sort of makes sense. But then again, your speed's gone. And he said, I'm still standing behind the choices. But what he did 5 minutes later, he brought in Brobby for the Dutch squad to sort of made up for the fact he brought in like Depay, who didn't play at all. And honestly, he got a yellow card. But if you look at that fall, that was a nasty fall as well. The Dutch will have one problem now. We don't have any backup strikers or any backup speed. So what this could mean for the rest of the tournament, I think this is the lesson learned. You could either, I get why they start with Malen because he's in form, he played a tremendous season at Roma, but it leaves you with no options when you have to, they have 2 big strikers, Brobby and Weghorst, who they can bring in if they're behind in the end, right? So you switch from the attacking fast style to throw in the ball in the box and see what happens. In this situation, though, where you know you're playing a team that's going to attack and you're leading the defense, you're leading the game, you need some speed upwards and you can't substitute towards that anymore. So I feel either the substitutions are really poor or he should have maybe started with one of the big strikers and brought in Malen later. But subbing Depay in, who's out of form, not fit. Sure, he did well for the Netherlands and he's the all-time top scorer. He has a resume, all fine. But it didn't make any sense, the substitution. And I think we gave our win away by subbing. And of course, it comes from a corner. They didn't get much chances in anyways. So Koeman said it was just also a bit of luck. Sure, that means, but you're also calling in that bit of unlucky, right? And I think that's a shame.
Yeah, no.
Nothing completely lost, though, I mean, in this pool, but still.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just being a bit harsh on Netherlands, but I think overall pretty well. I think, fingers crossed, it could change. It could change on a dime, and I like that you're sticking up for your country, and that's as you should. Well,
as from an analysis perspective, I'm not even saying like I would have won this match better, but it's not like we do poorly on World Championships suddenly or something.
That's right. Right. Quickly, we'll go into the drama. Drama is Yasin Ayari. Yasin Ayari from Sweden is 22-year-old Brighton midfielder born in Solna, Sweden. His father, Azuz, is Tunisian. His mother is Moroccan. In 2021, the Tunisian Football Federation made a significant move to try and recruit him to the national team. His own father said, play for Sweden. And he did. Last night in Monterrey, he played for Sweden. Not only did he play, he scored the first goal for Sweden against Tunisia in the 7th minute. I think he received the ball outside the box. He had an absolute thunderbolt into the corner, the second fastest goal in the tournament. And then instead of celebrating, he stopped. He raised both his hands. He looked towards the Tunisian fans and apologized. No fist bump, no running to his teammates, just hands in the air. And that was really classy of him. It's a young lad doing the best he could. And again, it's one of those things. It's a happenstance where he scored against the country of his dad's origin. And it was a beautiful moment to see it. If he scored later on, you scored 2 goals at the World Cup, you have the right to celebrate, and that's fair enough. He was respectful in the beginning, scored another goal, and for me, that was the drama of today, and it was just beautiful to watch. It was really, drama doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's a beautiful thing in this way, where it turned out to be a lovely story. And I will remember this guy because when he scored the goal, I was wondering why he didn't celebrate. It made complete sense. So that's the drama for today.
I'm so close to giving an unpopular opinion about this, but hey, let's not do that.
Go. Yeah, welcome. You're welcome to.
I think football is emotion. And I always so hate when he scores against his old club. Celebrate, mate. You're now living for this club. You're now playing for this country. I get your heritage, but you score a goal in the World Championship. You put your team in the lead. When your competition drew against each other, celebrate. I also feel like sometimes you're doing a disrespect for your own fans because they're definitely celebrating. Yeah, you can still celebrate. No one will blame you for celebrating at all. And then doing it, like if you do it the first time, you don't do it, but you score in the last minute, you just knock them off with 5-1. You sort of humiliate them, and then you start celebrating, putting your hand to your ear. I think that's sort of this does it sort of.
We don't. Look, I think we've got to take everything at face value. We don't necessarily know if he's had any altercation with any fans. I mean, let's hope that's not happened. No. But regardless, I think it was classy to begin with, and then after that, all bets are off. Enjoy your moment. You scored 2 goals in the World Cup. Not many people in the world get to say that. So,
true.
Yeah, that's what we have for the bottlers, the ballers, and the drama for today. Tomorrow we will be covering Spain versus Cape Verde. Any thoughts on who's going to win Spain Cape Verde? Quickly, quick thoughts.
Cape Verde for sure.
No, Spain's going to win that one easy. Belgium, Egypt. Who do you think is going to win?
Belgium. The score? I think Egypt's a good team though, but I am afraid that Belgium.
And we've got Saudi Arabia versus Uruguay. Just before you give your prediction, you should remember last year, the last World Cup, the only team to beat Argentina, Saudi Arabia. Do you think it'll happen this time around with beating Uruguay?
No, Uruguay doesn't have a great team, to be fair. But I don't rate this Saudi Arabia team at all. So, no.
And lastly, we have Iran versus New Zealand, which I think it's going to be more from a political standpoint as opposed to anything else. But I'm really worried about this particular game because if you remember during the friendlies, Haiti beat New Zealand 4-0. So not looking forward to this particular game, but go the Kiwis.
Yeah, I'm afraid the Kiwis won't stand much of a chance. That performance in the friendlies was so abysmal. And Iran actually isn't that bad of a team. So... this could be worth watching if not for that horrible time it gets broadcast.
Yeah, and also there's going to be Taremi. I really hope he does something because Mehdi Taremi, he plays with Porto and he's been banging them goals in. So fingers crossed he does really well. Right, day 4 is done. The tournament is alive and it's only going to get better. Before you go, follow us on Instagram at FUT IN Review and on TikTok, FUT IN Review Podcast. A 5-star review on your podcast app will mean the world to us. It takes our podcast way further than you think it does. Share this episode with anyone that listens to any podcast about football or is actually watching the World Cup and wants to hear some other people's thoughts or wants to share their thoughts. Please pass this on. And day 5 recap will be tomorrow. We'll talk about Spain, Belgium, Uruguay, and everything else. We'll see you then.